like to share with you in this week's Parshas, Matois, something very nice from the Rebbe's father, Rabbi Levi Yitzchok Zatzal. In the beginning of this week's Parshas, we have the whole mitzvah that if a young girl or young man would make a vow, an oath, and the Torah goes on to the details of how and when that vow or an oath is considered an oath and a vow, and she has to keep her neder or her shvua. Now, basically, it divides between a male and a female. And the word we're going to share today is found in Igdos Kodesh Omot Shin Chavov, a very interesting thing, that our Rebbe, we don't know exactly when, it doesn't say a date, but from the time when he left his father, he went to Berlin and then to France. In the 10 years where they had correspondence of letters together, back and forth, from Yekaterinoslav to Berlin, France, the Rebbe, our Rebbe, would ask questions to his father in learning, and Rabbi Levi Yitzchok would respond. And here's one interesting question that we have on this week's Parshas, that the Rebbe asked his father, Rabbi Levi Yitzchok, and he answers him in a letter. And this is what, so we don't have the letter that the Rebbe sent, but we have the letter that Rabbi Levi Yitzchok answered back. And from the answer, we can understand clearly what the Rebbe's question was. The Rebbe has a question on this week's Parsha on the Pirush, on the Targum of Rabbi Yonasan ben Uziel. In Chumash, we have three types of Targum. Targum is an explanation in Aramaic of the Pasuk. One is from the regular Targum, Targum Onkelos, Targum Yerushalmi, and then we have Targum Yonasan ben Uziel. And there's an interesting question how Rabbi Yonasan ben Uziel explains this week's Parsha. And basically the din is like this, like the Gemara says in Mesichta Nida, Daf Mem Hey Amud Beis. The law, the halacha concerning a male is like this. From the age 12 till the age 13, if he makes a vow and he makes an oath, then we check him. We see, is he mature? Does he understand what he did? Does he know what an oath is? What his responsibility is? Is he mature? If we see he is, then he knows what he's talking about. He knows that he made a promise to Hashem. Then it's considered a shvuah, it's considered a neder. From the age 13, we don't have to check him. Once he becomes bar mitzvah, whatever he says goes. He has to fulfill his obligation. A girl is different, as we know, by a bat mitzvah. And here the Torah says an interesting thing. From the age 11 till the age 12, if she says a vow, a year younger than a male, then we check her. We see if she's mature. If she knows what she's doing, then it's considered a oath. From the age 12 and on, when she becomes bar mitzvah, so here is like this. From the age 12 to 12 and a half, she's called a naira, and she can make her oath. We don't have to check her. But her father can annul that oath for 6 months till she becomes 12 and a half. Once she becomes 12 and a half, she's what's called in the Torah language a begeres, an adult, complete adult, and then whatever she says goes. So again, from the age 11 to 12, we check her. From the age 12, basically, we don't have to check her. She's mature. But the only thing is, the first 6 months, the father can annul that oath. Now, when the Yonasan ben Uziel, Rabbi Yonasan ben Uziel, speaks these dinim, so when it comes to the male, he says the Torah is talking about a male that's 13 years old in his 13th year. He doesn't talk about that his oath also goes when he's 12, where we have to just check him out. He doesn't mention that. He mentions the age 13. When it comes to the female, to the girl, over there, he starts off with the age 11. And he says that if she makes a vow by age 11, then this is what the Pasha is talking about. But there's another question over there. He used the word ad till 12, which means the 11th year. We check her, And after 11 years, which means once she becomes 12, then she's like a fully mature, and whatever she says goes. And that's really not true, because she has another 6 months where her father has a rishus. So basically the question that the Rebbe asked his father is a couple of questions here. Why by the male does he talk about the maximum year, the highest level, which is 13? He doesn't mention the age 12. And why by the girl, he starts by the age 11, bottoms up, and doesn't mention higher. He talks about the lowest level, the lowest age possible, which is 11. And he also doesn't mention about the father's 6 months. Basically, why does he talk about the 11th year, not the 12th? It should be equal. It should be just like by the male, he talks about 13, the highest level when he's bar mitzvah. Then by the girl, he should also talk about when she's bat mitzvah, age 12. Why by the male does he talk 13, and by the girl, the age 11? Says Rabbi Levi, it's an interesting thing. First, he explains about the girl, and he says, when the Rabbi Yisrael says the word ad tereisa, till 12, he doesn't mean that the father doesn't have reshus for the first 6 months to annul the vow. What the Rabbi Yisrael explains, Rabbi Yitzchok is saying, afilu, he wants to say the novelty, the unusualness, the newness of this law, which is so unusual. That what? He wants to say the chidush, the novelty, that even the Torah is talking about by such a young age, 11 years old, we don't have it by a male. By a male, it starts by 12. By the girl, the chidush is, the novelty is, it starts by the age 11, and that's what Rabbi Ben wants to emphasize. That the Torah wants to say a chidush over here. Girl, look how mature she is, even by the age 11. If you ask her and she knows what she's talking about, then her oath is considered an oath. Her father can annul it, yes, but from her perspective, we trust her and she's an adult. So the 2 points over here, the Rebbe's father is saying, the Rabbi is not saying that after 12 the father doesn't have an ishus anymore. That's not what he wants to say. He wants to just bring out that this what it says in the Chumash, that the father can annul it, but when does that start? He wants to say about the chidush, that in the year of 11, so the word ad doesn't mean exactly till. He wants to say from the age of 13, from the age of 11 by a girl, that's when it starts for her. The oath, we just check her out. When it comes to the male, over there, he says about 13. Why 13? So here, Rabbi Levi says a very interesting thing. That if you look in the Chumash, when it comes to the Zohar, it comes to the male, the Torah doesn't give over there any conditions that the father can take away the oath from a male. It doesn't go like that. A male, once he says it, goes. The father doesn't have reshus on him anymore. When it comes to the girl, over there, till, like we said, till 12 and a half. Which means that when there's one pasuk about a male, if he makes an oath, he has to keep his oath. Over there, it's absolute, which means that it's a vadai, it's for sure. So the Torah says one verse about a man. This is when he says the oath, this goes. So the Rabbi Yitzchok explains that Rabbi Yisrael ben Azil wanted to also say where, since the Torah doesn't give any conditions by the male, so he also gives a year date, a time of the age 13, which is also absolute. Of course, there's halacha that if he's 12, it also starts. That's no problem. And that's also not such a big chidush that that by 12 a male we trust him, because you have the age 12 by a girl, which is even without any asking her, it goes. So the reason why Rabbi Ben Azil picks the number 13 by the male, because that is for sure. We don't even have to question him, and that's the pasuk saying there's no conditions over there. It's a vadois, it's a for sure thing, and it's an absolute thing, and therefore he picks the number 13. So in a nutshell, if you want to look in the words of the Rabbi Yitzchok, how he explains Rabbi Yisrael ben Azil is, when it comes to the girl, he wants to say the novelty, that even by the age of 11 it starts, and we just have to check her out, but look how young she starts. Because the Torah over there is giving a whole bunch of conditions. That's true. But when does it start? The novelty is it starts by the age 11. When it comes to the male over there, Rabbi Yisrael ben Azil wants to emphasize the vadois, the for sureness, the absolute, that once he's 13, there's no questions asked, and his annulment is, his vow is considered a vow. So if you want to put it in English words in a nutshell, by the girl, Rabbi Yisrael ben Azil wants to emphasize the novelty, and by the boy, he wants to emphasize the absoluteness. He's 13, the absolute by the boy, and the chidush and the novelty of the girl starts by 11. If you look into the words, it's very interesting, but this is a very unusual thing that we have, that the Rebbe asked a question to his father, and Rabbi Yitzchok answers to explain Rabbi Yisrael ben Azil.